My story started when we come back to this dispensation of politics, Fourth Republic. When we were young people in Adamawa State, we are very happy about the coming of democracy. So we created different associations and trying to see the party we support and come into power. Eventually, my life became very turbulent along the path because those are the period where I was finishing my secondary school. I got into university, a lot of challenges. The conditions sometimes is not favorable coming from a very humble background. So it was very challenging until the moment when one of my uncles decided to say, why can't you go to Lagos since you are very adventurous? And eventually, I traveled to Lagos in June 2006. And we arrived Lagos in the night. I couldn't see much of the things. So in the morning, one person that I was supposed to meet there, my contact person came to meet me, Mr. Tafida, and drove me out of the motor park where I landed in Lagos. That was Auto Motor Park, I guess, and then I can remember. While we were climbing the bridges, I began to see big buildings, structure, order, conformance. Everything seems to work. Very contrary to the way I know it. Right there, I began to manufacture within my heart opportunities. I began to believe that this is actually the right place where I can stabilize my life and establish myself as a human being, as somebody who is driven with strong passion to succeed in life. And with that, going to Lagos, started some job in few places. I think I worked in about 2-3 different places before I decided to set up my business because I believe in the structure that was built. I passed through different policies of the government of Lagos then. I'm very ardent consumer of information on the media. I saw what has been happening. I saw the policies that the government keep rolling out. So I was so fascinated that I can take advantage of this free enterprise city to grow myself. And I remember taking the risks because of the trust I have in the Lagos system. I decided to resign with only 52,000 naira in my account. I said, it's not a problem. I will push because I know the way this city is structured. Anyhow, provided I have the competency and capacity to deliver this technical output that that organizations are needing, I will definitely succeed in Lagos. And I decided to keep pushing. In fact, at some point, I have to trek all the way from where I was staying in Surulere to 1004 and come back. And because I delivered, my payment was made. I was able to buy my first car and began to establish my organization, hire 1 or 2 staff. And before you realize it, I was able to establish IPI Solutions Nigeria Limited. And somewhere in 2014, I decided to want to acquire a land. I know it's something that is very difficult. And, so I went to one of my mechanic workshop, Mr. Ismail and Kule, they were my mechanics. And they told me that Adamu, there is a land in Ibejuleki, go and buy. And I said, okay, so let me try to see how I can be able to go there. On going there, I identified the land and was able to pay and start to process my documentation. I was able to get my documentation in 21 days. Usually, I know that, in fact, even the house that my father built in Yola, I think it takes us to grow to chase these documentations. But here I am in Lagos. Within just few days, I was able to get my documentation. I have my COO. That encourages me to build. And that's where I built my first house. And one astonishing thing is about when I was acquiring my land. I was so very happy. Why? Because the thing is process driven. Nobody cares to ask me about my ethnicity, my religion. Nobody cares to ask me from where I come from. Nobody cares to ask who is my somebody. Provided the community has approved that the land has been purchased and the documentation of exchange were there, my land was processed. In fact, I don't have to see nobody. I just submitted all the necessary payments and the process passes through a natural order, and within 21 days I have my CFO. This is a working system. And eventually I began to expand my business, grow my business until it reached a point where I hired up to 75 staff right in Lagos. This is a boy that went to that environment without anything other than hope and desire to succeed. But I found a city, a working model, the city that was built, organized, and structured in such a way that it will give every young person opportunity to thrive and succeed. It was from that moment that I began to fall in love with Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And I put a promise in my heart that wherever Asiwaju steps in, I steps in, because I believe it. I am a practical believer from a distance, a Fulani man who has no connection with the system and was able to still stand up and establish himself in an environment where he knows nobody. This is the kind of Nigeria I dream to have. So with this, I think it is going to be very interesting for all young people of Nigeria to look at the direction of Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, because his system, to me, is something that gives every other person opportunity, regardless of who you are, where you come from, what you believe, what you think you can offer. Because while we are there in Lagos, you see some people that have never been to school, they are still succeeding. Some people that are just doing mechanic, you see them establishing themselves. Some people that are cobblers establishing themselves. It's an economy, it's a society, it's an organization where you have a collective whole. You can't get this thing without the right leadership. And getting that right leadership is actually what establishes what is today Lagos. My name is Adamu Garba. I am the CEO of IPI Group Limited, and I was also a former presidential aspirant under the platform of the APC and a very strong APC member. And this is my Asiwaju story.